entrepreneurial pursuits from the past and present.
Right.
Today, we're talking to Cassandra Durkin, a musical phenom that toured the world playing her piano and singing in five-star hotels all over the globe. Cassandra honors us with the story of her life in the world of music. And as I tell the stories, I start thinking about people that I know that are phenomenal. It's not just technical people, but people like yourself who, you were a musical phenom at the age of 9 or 10 in Stockton, California. She was an amazing pianist at a very young age. And the first time I saw Sandra, I believe we weren't even in high school, and we were at a music camp, and you played a solo on stage. You had long braids down your back and playing away, and I'm like rubbing my eyes. I can't believe I'm seeing somebody that looks like me on that stage playing like an adult. It was just phenomenal. And then we went to Edison High School together, and I think you played for every choir and band and at Edison High. You were the official pianist. To see you just up there doing what you did it was amazing for me. So, and I thank you for giving me the time to talk to you and let me hear and let all of us hear your story, because I think it's a very important one that we need to hear. So, first, can you tell me about your family?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
And my mother and everybody, they were all born in Texas. And then, of course, when World War II started, my family came out here. But my mother came first because Aunt Lola, my grandmother's sister, was here in Stockton first. She came in 1932. And my mother was sent, because my grandmother was a beauty, and she married 3 times, and so she sent my mother, her only child, to stay with Aunt Lola, and she went to school, high school here. And then the war stopped, and at that time, when I was born, my father was an engineer in Vallejo on the submarines. Mm-hmm. It seems that the Navy, or whoever runs the submarines, went down south to, they went to the black college there where he was, and they recruited him and some others and brought them here, trained them to be engineers on the submarines. And then he met my mother, and they married, and then she got pregnant with me. He didn't like her cooking, so she took me and left when I was 9 months old. And I said, she was only 20 years old, and I said she had guts, because she took me, and then my grandmother saw me, because my mother was only 20, grabbed me from my mother, and that's the case closed. And then they all moved here to Stockton, and it seems that at 4 years old, I was going around to the furniture and doing this to the wall and everything. And my mother thought I was crazy. And she worked at the state hospital. Mm. And she had a white friend there. And she said, I think my child is damaged or something's wrong with her. And the lady said, why? And she said, because she does this to everything. And she said, maybe she wants to play the piano. I have a piano. You bring her over. So my mother took me over, and the lady put me on her lap and the piano, and she played a little thing, and then I played exactly what she played, and then everybody said, oh, we got a problem here, because that would be 1950, and everybody pooled their money, and they got the best teacher, classical teacher here in Stockton, Georgine Peterson. They took me to see her. She talked to me and did whatever. I don't know what she did, but she agreed to take me, which was something very big for this very, very elegant white woman to do. Mm-hmm. And so she started giving me lessons here. She always had concerts every year. And I was, at that time, 5. And she said, I want you to play at the concert. and you'll be the last one. Everybody knows that the last one to play is supposed to be the best. And then she gave me a boogie to learn.
Okay.
And my grandmother was very upset because why would she give her black child a boogie when she wouldn't give the white girls a boogie? But my mother overruled my grandmother. And I learned and memorized this boogie. My family came, and the rest of the families that were around came. I remember my Aunt Ida, she was fussing with my hair, because my hair was very long, and she said, I need to curl it, this and that. And I felt evidently I was cute. So I got up there, and you're 5 years old, you don't know anything. There was no fear, no nerves or anything. And I got up there at the end of the concert and played my boogie, and then they said, I bowed real low, and everybody laughed. And then they all applauded, and then all the white people came and surrounded my family and said, oh, she's so cute, this and that. And that's the way it was all the way. I stayed with her till I was 17. And I became a bitch around 15.
You know what I remember, Sandra, at Edison High, I could say if a teacher asked me to go to the office or, go some in-between classes or whatever, I would find you in the hall. And I'd say, Sandra, aren't you supposed to be in class? Oh, nobody's going to miss me. So, yes, I understand that.
You know what happened to me on graduation?
No.
Now, I played for all the choirs, and we were supposed to walk out to You'll Never Walk Alone. That old song, remember? When you walk through a crowd, da, 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 da. I got thrown out of class in one of the classes and suspended 3 days before graduation for insubordination. My mother had to come in. So my mother went to the office with me, and the woman remembered my mother because she had been my mother's teacher. And she said, what are you going to do with her? And my mother said, I don't know. She says, well, we can't really suspend her now because then there'll be no music to walk out to. That was the only reason I graduated. The only reason.
Yeah. You held us hostage.
The teacher, Geraldine Peterson, at 17, she said, I'm going to switch you over to a classical pianist teacher in Berkeley. And then once I saw him, I think I took 3 lessons, and then the personality really kicked in. And I left and went to LA. San Francisco, the fog depresses me, so I had to get out of Northern California. But the personality was very, very strong.
Yes, it was. Did you have a group of friends that you hung out with, or were you just that singular person?
I think there was like Sandra Wiggins.
Yes.
And Jean Rockmore, who was a grade ahead of me. Mm-hmm. Just those two. I've always been a loner. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody else but a loner could go around the world by themselves. And COVID was a blessing because I really, really loved it just to sit here and do whatever I wanted to do and listen to whatever I wanted to read, the books I wanted to read. When I was in Europe, I would go in and say, where's my room and where's the piano? And then for 10 days, they'd only see me on the job or eating, and then I wouldn't have anything to do with them because it took 10 days to figure out who the fool was and who the fool wasn't. And, and I had pretty good radar once I got acclimated. Like I would be in Norway, and then the next time the agent would send me to Sweden, and there's 2 different things there, and they don't even speak the same language. And so the rhythm and their vibrations are different. So it takes me 10 days, but most of the Americans say, oh, my name is Susan, and I'm here to play for you. I'm from Chicago. And my thing is, I just go to the piano and play. Don't talk to me. I'm just passing through. But about the second week, usually young girls will come and start talking to me, the waitresses or whatever, because they're intrigued about any, first of all, black woman being in their country. Number two, about any woman who can travel alone, eat alone, do everything alone. Mm-hmm. Most of my friends are from Europe or Russia, where I really, really bonded with them because a lot of them were expatriates too.
Let's double back to when you left to go to Los Angeles. What was the next thing that happened to you?
Well, before Los Angeles, I went to the San Francisco Conservatory of Music right after Edison. Okay. I went and auditioned there. They accepted me, and I was there when Kennedy was assassinated. I stayed there, I think, 2 years, and then I read on the bulletin board somebody wanted a pianist, and George Duke, who was a great jazz pianist, he said, I'll go with you. So I went down, this is San Francisco now, about 2 years after graduation, and I went down to this place in the Tenderloin, and I said, I want to audition. And so he let me audition, and the gay boys were all around the piano. You better hire her, you better hire her. And so he hired me, and I was making like $100 a week. And I said, oh, I can't believe this is wonderful. And so I stayed there with that job, and really that's where I got my repertoire, because the gay boys know all the songs.
Yes.
So that was the very beginning. And once I got that down, the singing and the piano, I left for L.A. And when I got to L.A., I stayed with my aunt. I stayed and get a job. And I got a job in 2 weeks in L.A., and then that was it, because from then I played the piano on Rodeo Drive in the Sheraton Hotel. While I was playing, a Japanese guy came in and heard me and offered me a job in Japan. So I went to Tokyo in '68 and made a Japanese album there. And I didn't like the money they were giving me, and the album must have cost them a fortune. They said, oh, well, we have to do this, we have to do that. I said, no. I left there and went home and left them with the album and everything. And they sent the ambassador to my house to beg for me to come back. And I said, no. I look back on that and say, well, but the thing is, now as an older woman, I realized that it was the best thing I could have done. They were trying to give me $350. It's the same thing that the Supremes got, but they were covered with the house. I mean, Motown bought them the house and all that. But I was in this country that very rigid, and they wanted me to be the first Japanese singing, speaking sex symbol. So the first album, I'm totally nude on it. But the money that they spent, they had a full orchestra. I've never played the piano better than on this Japanese album. The 12 top composers in Japan gave me their number one songs to sing, and I sang it and put it on the album and learned Japanese. I don't know how I did all that. And but it wasn't enough money for me. And I came home, and they couldn't do anything about it. And from then, I started working at a club in L.A., and then this owner made a club for me called Lloyd's. And that's when I became notorious.
By notorious, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, Lloyd's was the first gay club downtown on La Brea Avenue, right next door to Pink's hot dog stand. And he built this club for me, and it's named it after himself, Lloyd. And he said, what do you need? I said, I need a band. So he gave me, I made a band. There was bass player, guitar, drums, conga player, and me on the piano. First night, there was 300 people. I started making $1,000 a week. And all your stars came. David Bowie, all of them came. Because the gay boys, the hairdressers, the wardrobe people, all told them about me. The lesbians usually had their own club. So that was the first club where that had the gay boys and the lesbians. And I was there for 5 years. The lawyer for Greta Garbo, he saw me and he said, you have to come to New York. And by then, I had no straight life whatsoever. So I went to New York. New York was fabulous because I got there just in time, disco time. But I played in Upper East Side high-class restaurants. And I stayed there until I got married for 6 months. And I got out of that and came home.
Got out of the marriage?
Yeah, 6 months, that was it.
I see.
Because on the wedding night, he said, I want you to stop playing the piano and stop singing and learn how to cook and take care of me.
Oh, okay, that was time to go. Yeah.
And it was hard to just pretend like and try to cook. And my cooking was so bad that his mother slipped in and she said, let me cook for you. So she slipped in there and cooked. And he said, you're doing so much better. And it was strange because he was Irish. And the father was like Archie Bunker. About the second day after we married, he said, my parents want to meet you. I said, I don't want to meet her. So they kept insisting, and then he said, my mother really wants to see you. So we got on a train, or we drove, or I don't remember. We got there, and the mother was just lovely. And she said, what can I do to help you with my son? The father was the weirdest thing because he was just like Archie Bunker, but he wanted me to see his sculptures. So I followed him in the room, and his sculptures were all of Josephine Baker, who I look just like.
Yes.
And he's acting like Archie Bunker, but his fetish is doing these. And I said, I'm getting out of here because his son found what Josephine Baker looked like to bring home to him. And I said, I'm not going to get in this mess. This is too much for me. So I got out of that and came home to L.A. It was very difficult because that was 1984. Very difficult to get back into regular clothes. But I did, and I think that's when something happened where, in the world, something happened in the world. But I had a friend who was playing the piano in Sweden. And he said, why don't you come over here? So he gave me his agent. His agent flew into L.A. I played for him. And he's been my agent all the way until 2008 when the crash happened. And I went to every country. Well, I didn't go to South America, but every place else I've been. Mm-hmm. I say the best came first. Well, the thing is, I was in Russia 7 years.
What city? Were you in Moscow or
St. Petersburg?
St. Peter. That's better.
My agent, I had told him, all I want to do is go all around the world. Book me anywhere. I just want to go around the world. I'm not trying to find a home. Mm-hmm. And he did. And it was easy for him because Russia asked for black penis. Germany asked for black. And the problem was that me being black, I wasn't playing black. What I was doing was playing the music they really wanted to hear. You walk around Germany around Christmas time, and there's black choir, gospel groups everywhere. But when you go to a five-star restaurant, they don't want to hear that. Right. They don't like Patti LaBelle because she screams as far as they're concerned. That's because of the classical training.
Absolutely.
I can't play gospel.
So were you playing modern jazz or were you playing Mostly classical.
My style is close to Earl Garner, the Billie Holiday singing, like Roberta Flack, that in between thing.
Okay, right. So your piano and you are one voice together.
I learned that the voice made more money than the piano in Europe.
Really, really. So what were some of the songs that they would request from you in Europe?
Europe knows almost all of the American songbook. They know everything Frank Sinatra. They know everything Streisand. They know all of these things. I told people there's two things that you can always find in the rest of the world, and that's the Catholic Church and a drunk white person trying to sing like Louis Armstrong. When they get drunk, that's the first thing they do. So you got to do Hello, Dolly. You got to do New York, New York. All of those standards. And everybody in every country knows. Now, the thing about Russia was I could play Russians knew all of those songs. Music is the world's language for everything. Mm-hmm. But in Russia, I would play Dr. Zhivago and there would be no noticing or no one looking up or anything like that. And I found out that Dr. Zhivago, the movie, never was shown in Russia. So that's why they didn't know it.
Oh, my. Yeah, well.
But almost every other song.
The
Chinese are much more into jazz. Mm. They love Billie Holiday. They love Sarah Vaughan. They know all of their songs.
Is that what they requested of you, to sing those songs?
Yes. Yeah. 6 days a week. And Sundays usually off. And by the second week, I've made some friends or a boyfriend or something. And I got to see things that tourists don't get to see. A lot of, like in Russia, I was there 7 years, so I really got to see Russia. And I had a best friend who was a classical pianist, composer. And she said, let's go hunting, which meant shopping, And so I really learned, and I loved St. Petersburg. I did not want to come home here. I wanted to stay there.
Isn't it awfully cold in the wintertime?
Oh, God, it's awful. My eyelashes came off in the snow in February. I'll never forget that. And I breathed in one time, and the icicles went up my nose, and I was screaming, and I couldn't walk on black ice because I didn't know what black ice was. And it was a lesson. I would look out the window and see these little Russian ladies just out there walking, and I said, I can't do that. I'm from California. I'm not going to try to do it. I can't.
But it is a beautiful city, though.
Oh, it's gorgeous because France, never. It's ugly to me. It's flat. I don't see what everybody's talking about. St. Petersburg has canals. It's gorgeous. And the architecture with all the churches and things are just beautiful. And the streets are huge, wide. Mm. And I went to Moscow, and that square is unbelievably large. It's like our streets are alleys compared to Russia. But I would like to be there this time of year because this is the start of their white nights where the sun doesn't go down. And I remember playing the piano at midnight, and it looked like 12 noon.
So it's like living in Alaska almost.
And I'm so stupid. I didn't know how to go to sleep.
And as long as the sun was out, you were out.
Yeah, and so are they, and everybody's happy. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I have pictures of being out at a discotheque with my Russian friends, and it's the sun just goes down like that to about 4 on the clock and then goes back up. Never sets. And it's just hard, you tell yourself, I have to sleep, but the sun is shining. So
right. So you stayed in Russia all that time. What other country did you spend a lot of time in?
Switzerland.
How was that for you?
The Swiss are surrounded by mountains. And everything's on time. Like I tell people, I don't know how I'm waiting for a boat and how the boat can get there right on time to New York. I just can't figure that out. But it's beautiful. The mountains, the scenery is just breathtaking, but the people are suffocating.
How so? How so?
There's no joy. There's no, unless they get drunk. The Russians are the closest to our personalities. The Swiss are the farthest away because they have, they're very strict with everything. No sense of humor, no rhythm. So my thing there was just looking at the Swiss franc and everybody in the world wanting it, Matter of fact, my pension was made in Switzerland because they made sure that they had every place I played, they took money out. So did Germany. Germany gave it to me in one lump sum when I first came home. So I got that money. But the Swiss just drilled it out like $50 a week or something like that when they've got all that money. There's terrible things in every country, but there's some countries like Switzerland where you cannot ignore it. You cannot. Because it's so rigid, and they are so rigid. So I had to go to Germany so I could rest. That's how bad it was. I was so glad to get to Berlin because in Berlin's fabulous. Berlin is better than New York, and I love New York. But Berlin was 10 times wilder than New York at night.
I understand. It's quite cosmopolitan. Everyone from everywhere comes to Berlin.
I said, people say, oh, France, Paris. Oh, please. No, it's whacked, and it's a whole different place than what Hollywood says it is.
How did you feel about London and England, the British Isles?
The British loved me. I was on this ship called the Canberra. The British, the very wealthy, get on these ships in the winter because it's cheaper to spend thousands of dollars to go around the world on a ship than to stay home and get paid for your gas and lights. I had gotten engaged for the 4th time because I got engaged every time I got tired. And I was engaged to this guy in Copenhagen, and I flew home to L.A. And my agent called me and said, can you go? They need a piano player in Australia, in Sydney. You got 3 hours to make up your mind because you're going to have to get, if you decide to go, you're going to have to get your passport, a visa stamped downtown LA. And I was supposed to get married, and I had my ring. That's why I came home. I said, okay, I'll go. So I went and got my visa, got on a flight that was like 20 hours, all from LA to Hawaii, from Hawaii to Sydney. I get to Sydney, and they have my name, and I get in the car, and the man says, I take you to the ship, this beautiful ship. And here this gorgeous ship was. I said, I have to go buy toothpaste and stuff. And these tall Australian men were looking at me, and I said, hi, how you doing? And when I got back to the ship, I said, when are we coming back here? And she said, oh, we're not. We're going around the world. And our next stop is Papua New Guinea. And I said, going where? She said, here's the itinerary. Okay, what happened was that the ship left Southampton to start its trip around the world, got to New Zealand. The piano player there, who was gay, found out he had AIDS, jumped overboard and killed himself. And no other pianist in the whole world was available except me. And I wasn't supposed to be, because I was supposed to go back to Copenhagen and get married. Thank God I didn't. But that was fabulous. It was unbelievable. That ship for those 3 months went everywhere. And it was fabulous. It was just fabulous. And then after those 3 months were up, they asked me to stay. And I think I stayed going around the world with these ships, maybe 2 years, and then we were in Lisbon, and there was a storm. The storm hit, and the piano was stapled to the floor, and it would go. I keep playing and keep playing. The band, the crew don't get sick. Musicians, it's something about the inner ear. And I've never been sick. So everybody was puking, and then pretty soon nobody was walking around except the crew and me and the fitness instructor. He said, come on, I'm going to show you. I got a camcorder, I'm going to take pictures. And lo and behold, the storm was so bad that everybody had gotten sick or everybody was hiding. So I just got underneath the piano. And then I said to God, that's the last time I talked to God. I said, God, if you get me off this ship, I will never get on another ship. I swear to God I won't. And God got me off that ship. That storm was so bad, and I said, no more. And I've never been on a ship ever again.
Well, you've gone around the world for 2 years. I think you've seen enough of ships.
Yeah. I got to see what I really want to see, and that was Egypt.
How did you feel about that? How did you feel about Egypt?
For some reason, the Egyptians would just take a look at me and just go crazy. And I was with, of course, the tourists, all the tourists in the bus were the British and me. And when they got to the pyramids, and they wouldn't let the British ride the camel, but they came to me and they said, you want to ride the camel? And I said, yeah, but I had this British blonde boyfriend. And I said, he's got to come with me. They said, okay. So he and I got on the camel. Camel went way out into the desert. And my friend jumped off to take some pictures. And my camel knew he had a food on him. And he went over someplace to eat. And he was still, and I was still. And there was the 2 pyramids, Giza and the other one. And then I didn't even know that the Sphinx was right in that line.
Wow.
And I said, whatever I've done in life, it must have been okay for me to be in this position. My whole life changed right there with that camel and I, because I said, I want to live in the desert, and it felt like home. And the Egyptians absolutely did everything to be around me. And it was just like being home.
Well, there may be a genetic connection there. One never knows. You know, Egypt is really just North Africa.
Yes, that's very true. Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah. So Egypt, was there any place you said you didn't go to South America? Is that right?
No.
No.
The closest I got was Lisbon, which is Portugal.
Yeah. And why didn't that happen, I wonder?
Because South America have their own pianists who are fantastic. They have some of the best musicians. They don't need Americans.
Yeah. We traveled to Argentina, and I thought I had seen the tango, until I got to Argentina. And between the music and the dancing, I knew I had never seen tango before. It was amazing. Yeah. So,
phenomenal.
Very much so.
I'm spoiled. You know, everything's been 5-star. Brazil, I liked. When 9/11 happened, I was in Sweden. I was in Zurich. I had a black friend who was an opera singer who married a Swiss man. I'd sleep till 5 in the afternoon because I'd go to work at 9. And I was sleeping, and the telephone rang, and she said, girl, do you see what happened? And I said, what happened? Now, all I know was that while I was sleeping, it was very strange and there were jets, and they were upsetting my sleeping. But she said, turn the TV on and call me back. So I turned the television on, and I saw the towers. And I called her back, and I said, what in the world? I said, no wonder the jets were all over, because the Swiss hide everything in the mountains. I've stepped around, the men tell me everything. Yeah. The mountains can open and let the jets in, open and let the jets out, especially in in Verbier or in that area. She said, I wonder if we're ever going to get home. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to make my home Frankfurt, because I liked Frankfurt, Germany, because it was the closest thing in Europe to New York. It had a nightlife, and I liked it. And I said, well, I don't care. I'm going to make my home Frankfurt. And I said, you don't ever have to come home, because she spoke Swiss, so she didn't need, and she's still there, But my plan was to never come home until I got to Russia, when I really didn't want to come home. But Aunt Lola brought me home. And I'm sort of glad, because if I had stayed there, I'd be there now, and this is not the best time to be there.
Yeah. It's a little...
Because Putin's always been a thug, but he's got a PhD in him now.
Yeah, he's kind of in control of things right now, so...
But the thing is, what I try to tell people is, what I learned, they are far more advanced than we are.
In what thing? What way?
In every way. Because, first of all, they don't have the puritanical background to hold them back. Okay. They don't have Christianity to hold them back. They do have the Orthodox, but that's a small little groups. Mainly, your Muslims like the Kazakhstans, the all those Muslim countries that left them. Mm-hmm. But they practice in all kinds of stuff. I tell people about. I hadn't seen the sun for about 2 months, and one of the little waitresses said to me, Miss Cassandra, are you going to the beer festival tomorrow? And I said, I haven't seen the sun in 2 months. I'm not going to get out and see it. She said, oh, tomorrow the sun will shine. And I said, how do you know? She said, oh, they're going to shoot the clouds. And I said, I don't know what that is. So I went to sleep. I was drunk anyway. Woke up the next morning, and the sun's in my face. And I get dressed, and I run out, and I go tell the general manager, who was Italian. I said, August said they shoot the clouds so they can have sun. He said, what? So he said, let's go upstairs and ask the big Russian boss. So went upstairs, and he said, what did August say? I said, she said the sun was going to shine. It has been shining for 2 months. He said, oh, yes. We send the jets up to shoot the clouds for our people to have sunshine. And they have sunshine for 8 hours. And I said, what? It's things like that. But now what? They tell their people. There's no way in the world America's going to tell you. First of all, America cannot make the rain stop. Can't even make it start. Right. This was 2002. And they're up there shooting clouds so the people can go out and have fun. And every time an American president is there, the sun is always shining. If you take any video and look, the sun is shining whenever they have a guest.
All right.
The technology, they got that. They were the first up there. We have to pay to go up to that station now. Sure. Now, Elon Musk may be outdoing them, but the thing is, they didn't have the racism, the religiousness of you can't do this because God. They don't have any of that. Mm-hmm. So they were able to hypnotize people. Remember the chess player? Yes. Somebody in another room infiltrated his brain and made him make mistakes. I mean, they have that ability because they study it. Yes. They don't have any religious anything to hold them back.
Did you see that in other countries that were not Christian? Did you see that they were more progressive, possibly because of the lack of Christian ethos?
First of all, they have no guilt. No guilt. Mm-hmm. Because they haven't been taught to have guilt. Just like with Sputnik, they got it together. They went up there. The problem was 1999 when the ruble fell, and there was no money. Now, when my best friend told me in Russia that her mother had saved a dowry for her to get to when she got married. In 1999, the ruble crashed everything. Nobody had money. I said, well, how did you get by? And she said, we bartered. Americans are not going to barter. Okay, they went all through that, and they stayed together. Then, 2001, when I hit, Putin has gotten everything together where those that were on the good list got all of the money. And by 2004, the whole thing changed. What I saw, the St. Petersburg I saw in 2002 was not the same in 2004. I would say that things like, well, thank God for the Russian mafia, because they asked me for one song and gave me $2,000 tip. It meant nothing to the money. The thing is, they're ruthless.
Oh, the Russians?
They don't have anything to hold them back.
Okay. Yeah. So
I kind of like them. Well, I play the music, and my music could make them cry, and they were not ashamed to cry, you know. Mm. And they would, and they knew the songs, but a lot of the movie themes are rushed by Russian composers. Yeah. I'd be playing them, and they'd come up and they'd cry, and they'd put all the money down, and I'd say, oh, and I'd be so happy, and they'd be happy, you know. But I loved it because there was classical music all over the place. And then you get into Germany and say, oh, the Russians, they have no culture. Compared to Germany, Russia has much, much culture. And the communists did not destroy anything. Once communism was over, those pianos, those beautiful concert halls, the Mariinsky Theater, all of them were crumbling, but they weren't destroyed. America would make a parking lot. They don't have any rules to follow. We have rules and we have racism, which holds America back. They don't have any of that.
The Congress is not working. The courts aren't working. And you know good and well the president's not going to get a whole lot done with a Congress that's fighting amongst themselves. So we, before we start taking on anybody, we've got to take on our own issues here in the United States.
Yeah, that's going to be hard because, first of all, America's about money, but everybody is. I mean, yeah. I'm not saying that Russia is. First of all, Russia is a dictatorship. Mm-hmm. Your women, they're beautiful women, tall. I had a Swiss boyfriend come see me in Russia. And I said, don't stay too long, and don't he couldn't help it because the women are so gorgeous. Yeah. But the thing is, they make themselves because they have nothing else. Yeah. There's nothing else to do. If you don't marry to come up, you're not going to go anywhere.
You wouldn't find a Russian female pianist going from in the 5-star hotels in Russia.
Yeah, my best friend was the pianist, the classical pianist, for the tea time. You know, this is 5-star hotel. There's no trash anywhere. When I got there, I slept in the day, and she heard about me and she peeked at me, and then one night she came and she said, I play for the tea time. And so I said, okay, I'll come see you. And so I went to see her, and she was a composer. Now, she had a better life than most because the Soviets gave her her own apartment, which was unheard of. She and I became best friends, and we're still friends now on Facebook. So she was very rare because she had albums, she had everything. And she was gorgeous, just gorgeous. Mm.
What were your favorite songs? Give me 5 of your favorite songs that you love to play.
Oh, look. I love to play Misty. I love almost all the Billie Holiday songs. God Bless the Child, Lover Man, Where Can You Be? Sarah Vaughan, I loved everything Sarah does. I'm not a Beyonce fan. I'm too old for that. I think in my heart, the music I love stopped in the 50s. I remember, we were teenagers when Little Richard came to town.
Right.
Ray
Charles.
I asked my grandmother, I said, can I go see them? But she said no. And when James Brown came to town, she said no.
I don't know about your grandmother, but my mother wouldn't allow me to go to the Civic Center to see anybody.
No, I couldn't either.
No. We were the good girls.
Yes. Yes.
My father would say, you're going to become common. People see you around, you become common. I'm thinking, common? Everybody knows everybody.
Those were days where we could walk the streets alone.
Exactly.
Well, when I came back, just a bitch. Just terrible. I mean, just egotistical. And I said, God put me in Stockton to punish me.
Before or after?
Oh, right now.
Right now. Okay, he brought you down a peg or two.
No, God. Yes, because I dress up. Where are you going to the Follies? When I lived in Palm Springs, those women wake up with their eyelashes on.
Absolutely. And you've been back how long now?
I came back 2008. When the crash hit, I say Aunt Lola saved my life because your other musicians were stranded. Only your five-star hotels have it in the contract. There has to be music. That they got rid of that once the crash happened, and your musicians from all over the world, most of them flew into Vegas, and Vegas already had a click.
Yeah,
your ships were the only thing that kept musicians alive.
That's true.
And now your ships are gone. I mean, the virus upended everything.
So if you were given an opportunity to play again, would you play again, say, in a five-star hotel?
It would depend on what country. Here, no. First of all, you don't have that many educated listeners who are still alive. I tell people the music, my repertoire, the people who know the songs that I used to play are dead. Well, your DJ took over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. When weddings started hiring a DJ, that was the end of live music. Because your DJ plays the song you love, the way you heard it first.
Yes.
And no musician can copy that. But when you think about where now we're supposed to text rather than talk to each other. That you know that it's all over.
Yeah. And for a real musician, it's got to be, well, unless you go to a place like New Orleans, it's got to be pretty hard just to have a conversation about music.
Well, the last time I was in New Orleans, I thought there would be jazz.
Yeah.
I mean, jazz disappeared in 1970 from New Orleans. And all it was strip bars and rock. And
what about you getting on YouTube and just playing your music and see where it goes?
What I want to do is what I discovered, but I have cassettes and I have albums and I have photographs, at least 5,000. So I'm trying to find someone to help me write the books, but I also have recordings of me playing all over the world. So I had to figure out what to do with it. Because I saw a cassette of me in 1994, and I'm just as happy. And I've got at least 20 of those. So I've got to do something with them. And I went to a psychic, and she said, you didn't have to come back this time. And I said, what? And she said, you chose to come back this time. And I think, I believe in the gift. You see little children who are mathematicians at 5,
Mm-hmm.
violinists.
Right.
And I was the same. And the thing is, we're the old souls. And marriage and babies, that's not fun. I've had fun. I know what fun is.
I can spell fun.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Oh,
God. Well, listen, I just have to be myself no matter what I do.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's very good. Great. Okay, my dear, I am going to say good night and thank you, Sandra, for talking with me and sharing your story. And I've missed you, kid. I'm sorry we didn't connect sooner than this. I'm most grateful to you, Sandra, for sharing your life story with us. I'm sure Stockton is proud to have you back at home and sharing your talents. Thank you for allowing me to shed a tiny light on your abundant and purposeful life. And thank you for listening.